Now let's just have a quick chat about the just some basic sorts of things. It's really important that you have an interesting subject line with your newsletter so that people open it. You know, an email comes in and you look at it and you think, oh yeah, that's right, I wanted that newsletter from that person. I'm a bit busy right now, I'll read it later. What tends to happen is that they don't get to it, and you probably, if you think about it, probably most of us are a bit the same. So have a look at the emails that you receive. What sort of subject lines come in that make you click on them? So there are some newsletters that come in. I've got probably 2 newsletters that I get regularly that have got such fantastic content, and they're such good newsletters that I always click on them and read them as soon as they come into my inbox. There are some others that come in that if I've got a really good subject line, I'll hit on the I'll click on it and read it, and then otherwise I'll leave it till later, which equals I won't get to it. And then there are some that I never open. So you need to start looking at subject lines and think about which are the ones that you click on, which ones do you think are interesting, and you open and read. It's important that right at the beginning of your newsletter you put the most interesting and short articles right at the start. You need to grab their attention and let them know this is going to be good. If they like what they read in the first couple of minutes, or not even the couple of minutes in the internet world, if they like what they read in the first minute, then they're likely to keep on reading. So you need to make sure that what comes first is interesting and definitely not a sales pitch. Make sure you use graphics and photos, and somebody mentioned earlier on that they want to see pictures. Pictures make things come alive, and it draws people's eye to where you want their eyes to go. So once again, start thinking as you receive newsletters, just have a look and see how do they use graphics. You know, how can you put more pictures into your newsletters as well. When you get a great big chunk of text that goes on for quite a long while, do you actually read all of it? If you break it up with pictures, that could maybe help. Another way you can break up chunks of text is by using headlines. If you have good headlines going through all of the text, people will then be able to skim down. They'll skim and start to be able to choose which bits they want to read, but they'll be able to get most of the gist of everything. It's a bit like I read the newspaper in the morning. I don't really read everything in the paper. I read the headlines and skim through the article, and then when I find something that that really gets me interested, then I will read the whole thing. But I need the headlines, and I need to be able to pick out little bits as I go, and also there's always pictures. So the newspaper is an interesting thing to look at as well, actually. Very important that you commit to it, and as Suzanne told us before, she's been doing this for 3 years. I think it's really important that consultants start this as soon as they start their business. It should be part of the startup phase of their business. Obviously, if you didn't do this when you start up, then starting now is the second best time to start it. A lot of people won't do anything until they see it many, many times, and some people will never buy anything from your newsletter, but if they enjoy reading it, they might forward it to someone who will buy. So keeping in mind that it doesn't cost anything to do, you know, it's a great, it's one of the benefits of the thing is that you don't need to get a response from an individual. You need to get that person forwarding it to someone who then gives you a response. If you start a newsletter and you're not regular, or you stop and start, it will not help you build your business. It won't help you build your list. It doesn't convey a feeling of professionalism or trust either. So you have to stick to it. Now, in writing it, you might feel that sitting down and writing the newsletter is a bit of a big job once a month. But you can actually sit down and write a whole year's worth of content in a day. And let's say you decide to do tips and hints. You can sit down and write 12 tips and hints for products, and there you go, you've got 12 of them, they're done. That's one for every month of the year. You know, it actually doesn't take long. So think about doing it a bit smarter that way as well.
Oh, and just a thought there with MailChimp, you don't even have to redo the whole newsletter because you just copy it and change your photos and your wording, but you're not creating a whole new newsletter every time.
Yes, yeah. So once you're happy with your template and the way that it looks, you should always leave it looking the same, because then people need to be able to recognize it when they see it. So you do that once, leave it the same, and then it's just a matter of changing the words. Yeah, it is. It's great. So just bear that in mind when you start MailChimp or whatever program you're going to use. It'll take you a bit of time to set it up. Once you've got it set up, then it's really very quick. Now you might think about giving your newsletter an interesting name as well. I think that helps, just to give it a bit of a zing. Make sure that you keep your newsletter short. Remember, attention spans are very short, especially on the internet these days. You know, you're sitting here loading a page, and if it takes more than about 2 seconds, you know, we click to something else. So attention spans are short. Remember that. Don't be too wordy. Often we write too much. We might write the way that we speak, and that's too wordy. So if you're going to write like that, and then go through and see how you can delete half of it. You'll find you can delete half of it and still keep the same message. And once again, as we mentioned before, graphics and headlines help break it up. Make sure you go back in and check which links get clicked. And as I mentioned before, you'll be able to find out in this way whether what you share is interesting or not. And this will help you keep on improving what you're writing in your newsletter. Very important as well that there's a call to action. Don't leave people dangling thinking, oh, well, that was a very nice newsletter, and then off, you know, they close it off and off they go. Think about, what do you want them to do? After they finish reading it, what do you want them to do? And not everyone's going to do it. In fact, only a few people will do it, but you need to at least appeal to those few people. So don't give too many choices and make it time sensitive. So it could be something like, everybody who contacts me in the next 1 week to book a party that will be held before Christmas will receive something at their party. So they've got 1 week to book a party before Christmas. It's a call to action and it's time sensitive. Or the first 5 people to email me to order this special offer will also receive something. So something that's time sensitive and creates a little bit of urgency. It'll also mean that if they've got a friend that they really think would like whatever you're offering, they'll quickly forward it to their friend because it's time sensitive. So it gets everything happening a little bit quickly.